Hello and welcome to our milk chocolate tasting. My name is Julia Zotter from Zotter Chocolates, and I will guide you through these 10 milky chocolates. In preparation, please get yourselves a glass of water and get your chocolates ready. These are small bars, but it's 10 of them, so those will be 10 wildly different flavors. So it's going to be important that we will cleanse our palate every once in a while in between a tasting so we can experience the full potential of milk chocolates. I have arranged my chocolates in an order for tasting because for chocolates, usually we start with sweet chocolate types and then gradually move towards darker chocolate types. The reason for that is sugar. We love sugar. And you chose a milk chocolate variety, so obviously you do too. We tend to taste sugar first. Sugar is a very powerful flavor for our tongue. So if we start with a dark chocolate first, which doesn't have as much sugar, our tongue will be searching for that sweetness. And then if we do add a sweeter chocolate to our tasting, then we will taste mostly sugar. So in order to trick our tongue to really experience all those chocolate flavors in their full potential, we start with the sweet chocolate. So I've arranged the white chocolates, the caramel and coffee, and then that's going to be easier, the percentages moving upward all the way to 70%. I will guide you through that tasting, but so I don't always speak with my mouth full. I will skip a few chocolates for the tasting, but I will explain them to you, of course, so you can taste along. If you need a break, just hit that pause button. And I hope you're hungry because there's going to be a lot of chocolate. In the beginning, I'd like to start with white chocolates. While white chocolate is in a way a category of its own, of course it does contain milk, so we count it among the milk chocolates as well. The only difference between white chocolates and more classical milk chocolates is the addition of cocoa beans. Cocoa is always an important ingredient in chocolate, but in white chocolate we use the cocoa butter, only the fat of the cocoa bean, which is white, hence the name butter. And then for darker milk chocolates, we use the entire cocoa bean, and cocoa beans are brown. So as soon as we add a brown ingredient to our chocolate mix, obviously it will turn off-white. We will see that shortly with some of our chocolates. All right, I'm going to go classical for the first taste. This is our white chocolate bar. White chocolate contains cocoa butter. As I said, pretty white or colorless when it's yellowish colorless when it's melted. If we add milk powder to that, then it will stay white. Milk powder is more or less white. If we add sugar, it will also stay white. So we have a white product here. Our sugar, I think that's important, especially if you then compare the color to the coconut chocolate. Our sugar is slightly goldish. So we don't use pure white sugar, we use raw cane sugar because we just love that slight cane sugar flavor. And I believe that, sugar shouldn't just be there for the sweetness. It can also bring a character of its own. That's why our chocolate is a little bit off-white, because the sugar changes the color just a little bit. Also, milk powder is not pure white. Milk powder has a yellowish hue, much like butter. Coconut milk powder is pure white. That's why the coconut chocolate is going to be whiter than the white chocolate. Another important ingredient in white chocolates and milk chocolate is vanilla. Vanilla lends that extra dreamy, vanilla pudding character to white chocolate, and you will also smell it in here. Put that chocolate on your tongue. Ideally for tastings, don't bite down on the chocolate. Swirl it around on your tongue, move it back and forth, move it to the front of your tongue, to the tip, to the back. The reason for which is our tongue can taste and detect different tastes depending on where we put it on our tongue. On the front, we have sweet receptors. In the back, more bitter. You will not get a lot of bitterness with this chocolate. On the side, acidity, also not a lot of acidity within this chocolate. So sweetness is going to be the main flavor character of a white chocolate. But as we breathe in, the flavors of the white chocolate are moving into our nose. And there we then get that whiff of vanilla, cream, maybe a slight caramel note, and all things good with white chocolate. Our white chocolate does contain a little bit less sugar than would be considered industry standard, I would say. We just prefer that milky flavor over a too sugary flavor. Kid you not. I mean, obviously it is a sweet chocolate, but even with such a chocolate, take small bites, savor them, let them melt slowly, and you will have enough flavor in your mouth to go slow on this chocolate bar. Obviously, it's possible to just wolf it down, especially with sweet chocolates, that's easy. But try to do small pieces and savor them, and that way this chocolate bar can last you quite a while. The next one up for you guys is the coconut white chocolate. It's the same recipe as our white chocolate, our classical white chocolate over there. However, we tried to make it vegan. So coconut powder is the substitution for our cow milk powder. Maybe a little something about our cow milk powder, our dairy milk powder. It's from Austria. It's from the mountains. It's from Tyrol. It's a mountain farming project. So the cows themselves, they're up in the mountains during the summer. They're down in the valleys during the winter when there's too much snow up there. They live quite a good, happy life. And for us, that's the best milk that we could find. Milk is such an underrated ingredient in milk chocolates, especially. Often, you know, it's put in there just for its creaminess, but for us, it should also have a character, much like the sugar. So this is, that's why I think that also white chocolates or low percentage milk chocolates can definitely be in the premium gourmet chocolate segment. It's not about just putting, I don't know, sweet and creamy ingredients in there. It's about putting really good sugar and really good milk powder in there. And that can make a really, really good chocolate. So for anyone who tries to tell you white chocolate is not, you know, gourmet or good chocolate, don't listen. If you like to eat it, savor it, enjoy it. Same goes for our coconut, of course. Coconut has such a nice tropical flavor, and enjoy that on your tongue. It will have a slight cooling sensation even. That's because of the coconut milk powder, but hopefully it will transport you to a beach vacation, right? Savor it slowly. All right, the next two chocolates coming up are coffee and caramel. I'm gonna get started with the coffee chocolate. I mean, both of those go really well together as well. You can try that after the tasting, just make it a little sandwich. For me, coffee is a smell and taste experience. So for me, for example, in the morning, it's gonna be enough to just smell that cup of coffee for me to wake up. It's a psychosomatic reaction already. So same goes for a coffee chocolate bar. Just smell it, and possibly you will already feel that invigorating effect. In this case, for the coffee chocolate, we've just added ground coffee beans. So yes, there is real coffee in there. We roast our own coffee. That's why it has this brownish color. But the brown, if you compare it to the other milk chocolate, is slightly different because coffee brown is different to cocoa brown. Already, if you put it on your tongue, the flavor is going to hit that palate. It's going to smell and taste, you know, like that milk coffee in the morning. Slight sweetness to it, obviously. If you don't have a coffee, if you're on the go, if you are somewhere where it's going to be difficult to get that steaming hot cup, take one of those chocolates along. It doesn't contain a whole lot of caffeine, so real coffee is really going to give you that kick. But already the smell and taste experience will help you push through. And the next one coming up for you guys is our caramel chocolate. Now remember that white chocolate and that coconut chocolate, the caramel chocolate has exactly the same ingredients. Well, not coconut, but dairy milk powder. However, the difference is that we use caramelized milk powder. So it's again sugar and milk powder, but they've already gone through a caramelization process. Much like making caramel at home in a pan, you brown that sugar, you add some cream, you have this heavenly caramel cream resulting from that. The caramelized milk powder is much like that, just in powdery form. So that plus our golden sugar, plus muscovado sugar, plus cocoa butter, plus a tad of vanilla, plus a tiny pinch of salt result in a caramel flavored chocolate. It will taste less sweet than the other white chocolates, even though the same amount of sugar is in there. The reason is that caramelization takes away some of the sweetness because it changes the flavor profile of the sugar into more deep, different flavor products, but also a slight bitterness. So that will help you mask the sweetness of these chocolates. And caramel and coffee go really well together. You could also put this caramel chocolate into a coffee and enjoy a slight caramel flavor addition there. Now we're going to move into the more classical milk chocolates. Starting with the Panama 35%. 35% for us is really the lowest we want to go with cocoa content. In many milk chocolates out there, 35% is going to be the standard. We just open this one and look at it. Actually, I'm going to put the coffee right next to it. You'll see that the color difference is actually not that high, especially afterwards if you put it together with the 40% as well. There's a tiny bit of cacao in there, cocoa beans, but of course cocoa butter, milk powder, sugar, vanilla, and I'll explain the lecithin in our white chocolates and milk chocolates in a moment. This chocolate had the goal to create a caramel bonbon type of experience with a slight cocoa addition. So if you put that in your mouth, it will be very creamy. There will be some caramelization in there. Although we do not use caramelized milk powder, we can do that with our gauging process at the end of making the chocolate. And that slight addition of cocoa almost gives a cinnamony type of flavor experience. That's also because of the cocoa from Panama that brings a fruitiness in higher percentages, but here as well a little bit of a cinnamon flavor to it. So this is really almost a Christmas style chocolate. Very popular with kids. Really nice to just get that hint of cocoa flavor in there. Maybe a little bit of coffee as well. Next one coming up is the 40% Dominican Republic milk chocolate. Now, maybe going back to the percentages. The percentages here refer to the cocoa content, meaning ingredients from the entire cocoa. Might be cocoa beans as cocoa liquor, or might be cocoa butter, the fat of the cocoa bean. Those two together make up the percentage of, in this case, 40%. The other 60% are milk and sugar. And we do add a little bit of vanilla. There's always a tiny pinch of salt in our chocolates. And in our milk chocolates and white chocolates, with the exception of 50% upwards, we also add a little bit of lecithin. That's a question that we often get. Why lecithin? What is lecithin? Lecithin is an emulsifier. Basically, it combines fats and humidity or water for them to be linked together and to be able to move together. Lecithin is important in a lot of products. Milk contains lecithin, egg yolk contain lecithin, soybeans obviously contain lecithin. Anything where humidity and fat need to go together and work together, lecithin is essential, or emulsifiers are essential. Lecithin is important for our joints, for our brain function. Some of you might know that you can buy lecithin in the pharmacy as a supplement for your health. So lecithin per se is nothing bad. Sometimes it is used in excess, which causes or can cause trouble. In our case, our lecithin is from soybeans, and for our vegan chocolates is from sunflower. Both of those are certified organic. Both of those are obviously GMO-free. Soybeans are an excellent food. They're an excellent source of nutrients. They do have a little bit of a reputation problem because they are farmed in such mass quantities, but this is not true for our organic soybeans that are farmed sustainably. We use lecithin where it is necessary. Those are chocolates that have a high humidity content because of their milk powder content, because of their sugar content, because we use fruit powders in some chocolates. We need the humidity in those ingredients to work together with the cocoa butter for creating a nice melty, flowy chocolate. If we do not add it, the chocolate will be more like mayonnaise in your mouth. It will not melt smoothly. It will stay stuck together. And this is something that we do not want. However, 50% upwards milk chocolate does not need any lecithin anymore because there's such a high cocoa content that it can deal with that humidity. So in our chocolates and in no dark chocolates, you will not find lecithin in 50% upwards. All right, let's move to, we've done 35, I'm gonna do 45. I haven't explained the 40% yet, though. See, I get passionate about lecithin. The Dominican Republic is on an island. It's a Caribbean island, Hispaniola. And because it is an island, it's a very special place for cocoa. It has the highest production of organic cocoa beans in the world because there's no or virtually no diseases prevalent that could attack the cocoa. They're really lucky with that. So that's why they can have such a good and high production yield of organic cocoa. And we like that cocoa because it has such an intense flavor that it can survive against milk powder and sugar. Also, we work together with a social enterprise there, Zotter. They operate a bird sanctuary. And cocoa grows in the forest under shade, so it has to be grown in mixed agriculture, meaning that there's also way more space and way more food sources for birds. Insects, for example. So bird sanctuaries and cocoa farming go really, really well together. And that makes this cocoa from the Dominican Republic also really special. For our Peruvian 45%, we choose cocoa from the San Martin region. It is a very smooth cocoa. It has strong cocoa flavors, but also a little bit of acidity. And that's something that can be actually really, really nice with milk chocolates to cut through that sweetness. So again, take a little bit. To me, this one has a slight hint of cherry, maybe. So it's a dessert chocolate. 55% here are milk powder and sugar, and a bit of vanilla, a bit of lecithin. But you can already feel that cocoa power coming through. I'm gonna leave the Tanzania 50% to you. Just 50% is for us a very, very popular chocolate because it delivers that ideal balance between cocoa power, creaminess, nice sweetness, and the Tanzania cocoa beans are a relatively new addition to our range, and we just brought out the milk chocolate this year. Tanzania 50% has fruitiness to it. Tanzanian cocoa is not very known in the world just yet because it's not a big producer of cocoa, but there's a very special social enterprise there. It's Cocoa Kamili. They're situated around a village called Mbingo. It's about 12 hours from Dar es Salaam. It's in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by savanna and safari areas, so you would not imagine cocoa to be growing there. But there are some wet regions, and this cocoa has bright fruitiness. Think of red fruit there. That does an excellent dark chocolate, but for milk chocolate, it also brings like a compote type of flavor addition to your milk chocolate, and I really like it. So have a taste and see if you can taste the same. Slight little note on tasting itself. Every one of us tastes a little bit different. Everyone has different flavor perception. So no worries if you find other flavor notes in there, that's completely normal. 50% is already in a darker range for most milk chocolates, but we decided to go a step further, 60 and 70% dark milk chocolates. 60% in this case with cocoa from Nicaragua, our first cocoa origin, actually ever since we processed cocoa from the cocoa bean in 2006. Also, Nicaragua is not a big cocoa production country, but it has a lot of tradition there. 60% is already on a very dark side for milk chocolate, but I believe that, you know, cocoa power and creaminess go really well together. The milk powder softens the intensity of the cocoa a little bit and lets you savor different flavors compared to a 60% dark chocolate, for example. A 60% dark chocolate, by the way, means 40% sugar. In this case, we have about 25% sugar. So this chocolate has way less sugar than your usual dark chocolate. And you can even make a mark here. Not going to be so easy anymore now that I cut off, but you can go for 60% here. And this is pure cocoa, and everything else is milk powder and sugar. It's a really nice chocolate to eat slowly, to savor. The cocoa flavor will linger in your palate. A dangerous chocolate bar to have on your work desk if you take like small little pieces, because that cocoa flavor is so nice. You will want to keep going. I need some water. I hope you had your water during the tasting already. Well, and the next step we have here is a 70% dark milk chocolate. I will also taste that one. This one's really special because this is rare in the world of cocoa. 70% dark chocolates are pretty classical, but 70% milk chocolate, in this case 10% sugar, 20% milk powder, is super intense. Just slightly sweet, strong cocoa flavors, and definitely something to really, really enjoy. If you do happen to have a 70% dark chocolate bar anywhere close, try to compare those two. There's a world of difference there. This cocoa is from Peru, chose it for its smoothness, cocoa fudgy flavors that go really well together with that high cocoa content, and tad of milk powder, tad of sugar. And also this one is something that melts a little slower than a white chocolate, for example, so you can also savor it more slowly. To finish our little tasting experience, let's do an experiment here. I brought back the white chocolate bar. I just had the 70% dark milk chocolate. Once you're done, once the chocolate has left your mouth, take a sip of water. Cleanse your palate. And then I'm going to explain this first. I want you to pinch your nose hard so you don't smell anything, and then eat a bit of white chocolate. And just try to feel what your tongue feels about that white chocolate. And once you get a feeling, once it starts melting, then open your nose and breathe in. And then wait for the flavor of the white chocolate to disperse in your nose. Try that. Can you feel it? First, you will taste sweetness on your tongue, but it's hard to determine. You know it's white chocolate, but it's hard to determine the flavor. Once you open your nose, suddenly that vanilla hits you. And that is the difference of what we can taste with our tongue versus what we can taste with our nose. That's why for tastings, it's important to not have a cold, for example. Anyway, I hope you learned something new. I hope perhaps you found a new favorite chocolate, or you discovered a new favorite cocoa content, new favorite country. Hope you had fun. Thank you for joining. See you next time.